To summarize here, under the merchant exception rule, a merchant who receives a signed confirmation from the other party will be bound by it, just as if he had signed it, unless he promptly objects. The operation of this provision, and the reasons for it, are illustrated by the following example. Suppose you have a situation in which the buyer and seller are both merchants. Say the buyer is Dave, and Dave likes widgets. The seller is Rachel, and Rachel spends her days and nights making widgets. Dave likes Rachel's widgets a lot. So he calls her up and says, "Hey Rachel, I want you to sell me 1,000 of your widgets at $10 a piece." Immediately after hanging up with Dave, Rachel sends a written confirmation to the contract, correctly listing the quantity and price. This confirmation constitutes a memorandum which would be enforceable by Dave against Rachel. In the absence of the provision just explained, Dave would be able to play the market. In other words, Dave could wait between the time of the contract and the time for delivery to see what happened to the market price of widgets. If the price went above $10, he could enforce the contract against Rachel by virtue of the confirmation. If, on the other hand, the price fell below $10, Dave could refuse delivery, and be immune from suit because of the statute. But by UCC Section 2-201, Subsection 2, Dave will be prevented from playing the market in this way. Sorry Dave. Unless Dave objects in writing within 10 days after receiving Rachel's memo, he will be bound by it, just as if he had signed it. Of course, Dave still gets 10 days in which to play the market, but in the case of a contract contemplating delivery several months after contracting, his time for risk-free speculation has been considerably diminished. One final point here. The UCC's generally liberal requirements concerning memoranda extend to these confirmations under the merchant exception. For instance, as long as it reasonably appears that the document refers to a previous oral agreement, it is not necessary that the precise words in confirmation of our agreement be used. That's all on the merchant exception, folks.